People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right. Today's episode, we have a legend in magic and comedy magic. He's been featured on the cover of Genie Magazine, Magic Magazine, and Mum. He has performed all over, including Canada, Europe, the Caribbean, South Africa, and even the jungle of Washington, D.C. He started Magicopolis in 1998 in Santa Monica, which is a 150-seat theater where he performed anything from close-up magic to large-scale illusions. I am a huge fan of this guy. I could talk about him all day, but we got him here. Let's bring him on. Everybody, it's Steve Spill. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Wes. Good to be with you. I'm glad we connected. I was clicking that button trying to be on, and I'm glad we got to. Now, are you in Washington D.C.? No,
I am in Richmond, Virginia, 40 minutes outside of Richmond. But yeah, that's my backyard, man.
And were you ever at the Brook Farm Inn of Magic?
No. I've only heard stories about the heyday of DC and what it used to be. I'm a member of Ring 50, which is the national ring up there. I've never been to the press corps group that's up there. That's the SAM, I believe. I'm a member of the IBM up there.
How young a man are you?
44.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, this was, I think we were there 80 to 85.
Man,
probably just in diapers, under a three-piece suit, of course.
Yeah, my wife was in diapers at that point.
Yeah, I definitely was.
What's your wife's? What's your name?
My name's Natalie.
Oh, cool, Nat.
Yeah.
I'm one of the guys, and I'm glad to. And so, do you work together?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Cool. And do you also perform magic, or are you more of assist?
I do some magic, but I'm more of assist, but I definitely do some magic in the show as well.
Gotcha. How long? What do you do?
She does a little bit of everything, man. She does doves. She does box jumping. She does mentalism. She does things that make me look good on stage, where she's doing all the work behind my back. Having a partner on stage, you know how that is. I mean, it opens up a whole new world of opportunity to the entertainer on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my wife is Bozina, and I did the show almost 22 years together. And,
wow.
We had a 2-hour show, Floating Ladies, Mind Reading, Sleight of Hand. And she also had about 40 minutes that she can do the solo stuff. So we alternate doing some solo stuff, and we jointly did about 7 illusions in each show. So
that's amazing, man. I wish I'd have seen it. It just, growing up here in Virginia, everything in Vegas as a kid, I remember even in college, just Vegas seemed like it might as well have been Australia. It just seemed like it was so far away. I'm in Virginia. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. What's an airplane fee? I don't know. I don't think I could ever afford that. I think I could afford a new car first. It wasn't in my wheelhouse. My parents, the whole time my parents were alive, I don't know that they took one airplane flight. So It was just not something we did. But man, if I could have gone to see your show while it was running, I read about it in the magazines. I got all the magazines.
Michael Lamar was from Blue.
Yeah, I have no excuse.
Or maybe that was West.
Yeah, I have no excuse, because Michael Lamar was from the country. He was out in the middle of nowhere.
From Pennsylvania. That's what people. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What did you say?
I said Pennsylvania.
Yeah, there you go.
Moved to Pennsylvania, and they think of it almost like Kentucky because he's in a rural town, and they call it Pennsyltucky.
Wow,
that's funny.
So I don't even know where to start with you, man. I'm doing research on you. I'm so excited to have you on here. I was
awesome. A Magic Castle brat in the late '60s. Actually, around 1965, I started. I met Di Vernon and all, and the 60s and early 70s was a really great time for Magic Castle. All of the legends were there, and so I grew up with a lot of great uncles and grandfathers and so on, and it was really like a sitcom. A lot of really great characters there. And at that time, it was the 60s and early 70s, and it was rock and roll and hippies and flower children and so on. And like 70 to 73, I created a character called Houdini. And this was a character that I opened for a lot of bands with at the time, like the Spencer Davis Group and the Eagles and Neil Young and Little Feat and Cheap Trick and so on, at a lot of Hollywood nightclubs.
I'm gesturing to my wife, and she has no idea. When you say Houdini, it's like smoking weed. Houdini. I just want to. She didn't get that reference, so I didn't know if the listeners.
Houdini, like okay, but Houdini. So I produced bouquets of marijuana and had the multiplying hash pipes and that, like the billiard balls, you know, where they would appear, and then I would get cotton mouth and pull like the eggs out of the mouth, cotton out of my mouth, and quench my thirst by drinking a pitcher of beer, kind of like the milk pitcher kind of thing. And so, and I snorted as a running gag tablespoons of white powder. And at the finish, I held my nose and kind of like the long pour salt trick, you know, the white powder came out. So it was a time that that's where I kind of got my foothold in performing stand-up comedy magic, but it was that as a character. It wasn't as myself. And
now, was this at comedy clubs? I mean, that
no,
played the castle.
The comedy clubs did not exist
at
that time. These were rock and roll clubs. So I would open for bands like the Eagles and Cheap Trick and Little Feat, and groups that were popular in that time. Wow. Probably most of them you'd never heard of today.
No.
Except for, say, maybe the Eagles you heard of, you know. But in any event, I transitioned from that to doing, moved to Aspen and had a mentor, Bob Sheets, and did bar magic, which was sort of like stand-up comedy behind the bar because it was an 80-person bar and it was ski season. And the bar would turn over 5 times a day. So anything we were working on, we really got good at it, you know. And there would be loud music and dark lighting. And then when you get behind the bar to do some 10-minute magic set, the lights would come up and the music would come down. You have an 80-person audience there. It was really great. And it was a really great training ground. The 80 to 85 was kind of when I was in the DC area, the Brook Farm. It was actually in Chevy Chase, Maryland. And that's when comedy clubs started in the 80s. And that's when I departed from the DC area and worked at comedy clubs around the country. And that led to doing casinos. I was worked in a lot of review shows. And in particular, one of them, Spellbound, which was a magic show, not unlike, it was the Illusionists of its day. And one day, it was great. And I went with that show around the world. And, but in Lake Tahoe at Harrah's, Sammy Davis Jr., another person you might not have heard of, was in the audience, and he came to my dressing room. And he said, "Hey man, I want to get your autograph." And this was one of the very first superstar guys that I ever met. And he told me that, "Oh, you'd be a great opening act." And this was toward the end of his career. You can Google Sammy Davis Jr. to see.
No, we know Sammy Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
So he says to me, you know, "Hey," when he comes to my dressing room after the show, "I want to get your autograph." And, you know, I said to him, "Oh, who should I make that out to?" You know, which he thought was really funny. And he said, "Oh, the only Black Puerto Rican one-eyed Jewish entertainer in the world." And, you know, I gushed like a teenager and told him I loved his work. And anyway, he told me I would be a great opening act. So I still had a couple months left on this run at Lake Tahoe. And I got hold of every entertainment director at every casino and say, "Hey, Sammy said I'd be a good opening act." Long story short, from there, I ended up being an opening act for a lot of great people of the day. that at different casinos around the country, which was really great. And people that like Kenny Loggins and Kenny Rankin and Lola Falana, Melissa Manchester, Mary Travers from the Peter, Paul and Mary and so on.
Wow.
And then the casinos stopped using opening acts. They either had a double headliner like Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers or what have you, or they would have just Tom Jones or something. So they stopped using opening acts. But I was lucky to transition into doing like bus and truck tours, mostly with Michael Bolton and Kenny G, because they had the same management company. So I still kind of did the opening acting for a long time after that. And after a while, I got tired of being the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, because you're really there to kind of unify the crowd before the star comes on. And that's when I got the idea about having my own show and my own theater and so on. And that's what led to Magicopolis. And the book that I Lie for Money, which is available on Kindle and Audible and so on, or bookstores or Amazon, has kind of just what I told you. And my latest book, which is just for magicians, called Assassin: How to Create a Killer Show and a Killer Career, it has the full story behind the scenes, how the project was funded and the building was gutted and the theater and bar were built and so on. And a lot of anecdotal stuff, because we were lucky to have a lot of Hollywood celebrities come to our show. And as a matter of having Magicopolis, as a result of that, we had a lot of opportunities, to be in movies and TV shows and stuff like that, which is all in the book. So when you want to start your own Magicopolis, you can go to my website, stevespill.com, and buy a copy of Assassin, where you can also get a couple of my other books for magicians: How to Make Love the Steve Spill Way and Magic is My Weed. And if you go to the site, there are various other little doodads on there, interviews, reviews of the books, some clips, my 5 or 6 favorite video clips of tricks that I've developed and so on. So that's the long and the short of it as far as the latest book. And it's been out almost a month now. It seems to be getting some good notices. I'm hoping some of your listeners will become readers.
Well, I mean, every book you put out gets great reviews. Michael Close, who is one of the producers, one of the backstage people, not the producer, but one of the magic consultants on Fool Us, was given your most recent book a high praise. So I mean,
nice.
Yeah, everybody loves your book, all your books, all of them. So Magicopolis, what did Penn and Teller, did they help with that? Were they
did
supporting you? I know I saw pictures in the Magic magazines of them at the ribbon cutting ceremony and really just throwing their heart and soul into you. They've been so good to me. I'm just fascinated with the Penn and Teller aspect, how you became friends with them and that type of thing.
Well, I met Penn and Teller in the 70s, a long time ago, and we became fast friends, and we were kind of in touch over the years. They, for instance, came to the show in DC, and at that time they were working at the Renaissance Fair in Cumberland, Maryland.
Okay.
And shortly before they kind of hit big with their PBS special. At the time I was building Magicopolis, they had a show on FX called Sin City.
Yep.
And myself and several other magicians created a lot of material that they performed in between the other acts. It was sort of like an Ed Sullivan type show, except all of the acts were mismatched.
I love that show. I love that show. I can't find anything on YouTube of it. It was a fun show.
So I called in a favor, and when I had the groundbreaking ceremony, they were there to put their hands and feet in cement in the lobby and everything.
Awesome.
And 6 months later, when it was built, they performed their show for the opening of Magicopolis.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was great. and a lot of their classic bits they did. And this launched the place in a really great way. A lot of celebrities attended the opening, and between the groundbreaking ceremony and the opening, there was 6 months of sort of promotion, and that's I'm forever in debt to them for that.
Dude, they are so great in the Magic community and with their friends. They're amazing. I love them so much. I love them more every time I talk to them and every time I see them. You think you can't get any better, and it's like, no, they do. They're awesome.
Yeah, I think they're on tour in Australia now, and Michael Carbonaro is in their theater in at the Rio.
And my magician friends are saying that show's really good right now too. So
Oh, he has a great show. Yeah, yeah.
So Magicopolis, I'm thinking about you. I'm working on this and trying to get questions for you because I'm so excited. I want it to be a great interview. I want it to be great. But I'm thinking, I remember seeing this place getting gutted. I remember seeing a video of this, and I'm thinking, I own the DVD 10 Years of Steve Spill. Is it on there where you show your extra hiding places and things?
Yeah, I forget if it's well. There is a bonus feature that has Penn and Teller on there, and there are also, I don't even remember now. It's called, I don't know if they're called cookies then or what it was. There's also some secret things on that DVD that you can click on certain things. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, or the
No, you're good. You're
yeah.
good. But like your if you can tell the listeners here that you had little things, not trapdoors on the stage or anything like that, but like the
No, we
stage
had
itself.
trapdoors in the stage. No, we had
Well, yeah,
trapdoors
but
in the
yeah.
stage. We had a great runaround too, so that you could appear in the vanish on stage and appear at the back of the theater.
But you had your bleachers on a lift or something where you could have storage under there because it was a small venue. You used every inch of space of that place.
Yeah, you know,
Something like that.
It was a 10,000 square foot space. We gutted the building, and there was a very steep rake to the audience that we built with theater seats and everything. And we did have storage underneath there. And we had a pretty good sized stage. It was 40 feet wide, the opening 24 feet. And we had a bar and a magic shop. And so during intermission, and it was a 2-hour show, we had an intermission, like 15, 20 minutes for people to buy stuff. And that's sort of one of the spokes in the wheel of having a spot like that. When we did, like I said, close to 22 years, we started getting offers to sell the place probably at the 20-year mark. And, you know, after that amount of time, Bozine and I both were, you know, ready for a change and to, you know, it's so rare to make your wildest dreams come true on your own terms and then decide when and how that particular dream should end. And so the escrow was about 7 months to sell the place. And September 2019, the new owner took over. And, you know, COVID hit like 6 months later.
Yeah.
And so they haven't been open since. And he also had changed the name and everything. But the guy who bought it, Randy Sinnott, at that time was the president of the Magic Castle.
Okay.
And he, you know, he can weather it. He's a wealthy guy. He's a corporate attorney and so on. And I'm sure it'll open at some point. But, you know, and when he did have it open, he ran sort of like the Magic Castle. He had 3 or 4 different acts on each show every week, changing.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, we did it more like a Broadway or Vegas show. It was our show all the time, you know.
How often did you guys change your show, though? Because, I mean, it's a touristy thing, but still.
Well, first of all, we did change it, and it did improve over time. Over the full period of the 21 years, we probably did maybe 30 different illusions, but there was 5 to 7 illusions in each show. I had some really rock solid stand-up stuff and close-up that was in every show. But the population in LA County alone is 10 million people. So there isn't really any, you know, this is why Broadway shows run for 20 years or Vegas shows run for 20 years, because the audience keeps changing more. And so while a lot of the solid bits get better and better and better, and we would always weave in new things, all of the new things were sort of hammocked between two surefire bits, so they could be coddled and crafted and honed without risking the reaction of, the satisfaction rate of the show as a whole. And we learned a lot from doing it. It was a really enjoyable thing. Along the way, we've had a lot of opportunities for, we did one corporate event where Sting opened for us. We had, I could just, well, I could go on and on.
I love it. I love it. No, you're great. Keep going. Keep name dropping. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm eating it up. That's why I'm silent. I know these names. I'm just like, my eyeballs can't get any bigger. Corporate events with Sting. That's amazing.
That was a corporate event for Cherry Tree Records, and they were launching a new artist. And in order to get all of the critics and journalists and so on to come, they had Sting do an acoustic set, and that got all of the hot reviewers to come. And we did part of our show in front of the curtain while they changed the equipment for the stars they were promoting. And that act, I have no idea what happened to them. They didn't really become famous, I guess. But it was kind of a full circle. When I was a young man in the 70s, I opened for different groups, and then I had Sting opening for me. It was kind of
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you just being in that environment, in that area of Los Angeles, we had so many great people, from Sugar Ray Leonard to Adam Sandler to we did a couple TV shows with Joan Rivers, who's, Los Angeles is sort of, that's kind of the industry. And so it was a great place for us to have a magic thing. And after we sold it, we wanted to we went on a world tour for pleasure, not a working world tour. And then at the 6-month mark, COVID hit. We were in Hawaii. And then we ended up living in Hawaii for 2 years. We lived both in Kauai and the Big Island, and would visit the other Maui and Oahu frequently. Because of some family things with my wife, we ended up coming to Europe, and so we've been spending our time in various European haunts since, just in the last several months. And we're at a time in our life where we're enjoying life. I'm 68 years old, so I have a couple of years on you, and I can only hope that at some point you'll hit a stride too, where you can just choose what you want to do. We've been very, very fortunate, and I have a real courageous, free spirit bride. My wife and I are. You can look on our website, stevespill.com. There's a Bozina Robel button that you can click. When we met, she was in TV and movies doing acting parts, and there's a clip reel there of her also. And we just clicked, and we worked together to have a great 2-person show. And yeah, I don't know. I could babble forever.
No, I'm letting you go, man. I'm letting you go.
If you had a question,
how did you guys meet?
We met at a comedy club. She was there for her birthday, and I was appearing there. It was Igby's in West Los Angeles. And at that time, she had a part on Married with Children, which was like a hot show then. But she did a lot of the sitcom parts where she played the Russian spy or the vampire, or she has an Eastern European accent. So there are a number of parts that, in fact, most of the parts that she would go for, to audition for, she would be competing for the same 8 or 10 girls,
Does she have an IMDb? I want to look her up.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
I do too.
Yeah. Oh, I know you do. I
I haven't looked at those because there was some point in time where they changed the format, and you had to actually post stuff yourself and become a member of IMDb, a paid member, which neither of us are. But
Right.
whatever is on there, somebody else put up there. And I'm sure if you click on that now, you'll see whatever. One of the things that she was the voice of Hitler's agent on Code Monkeys, which was a cult TV show, cartoon animated show on the Cartoon Network.
Oh,
That
wow.
was the thing when when we were first going out.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So when you say
She's also in Decalogue, which is Krzysztof Kozlowski is a Oscar winner. He did Red and some other films, and she has a featured role in Decalogue, which is um, also a good credit, I guess. And whatever else is on her IMDb, when we were together, she did several commercials. When we were actually at Magicopolis, she still did some acting stuff. She did a commercial for Nickelodeon and one for GE Appliances. And if you live or a working actor, which I'm not, any of the parts I got were just by luck because they came to the magic show and said, "Hey, do you want to be in this thing?" And I said, "Okay." But most working actors audition regularly, and every once in a while they get a part.
Right.
Yeah.
But they came to you and picked you. Was it filming because they wanted your location and they wanted a mysterious magic guy in their show and just happened to be seen in a magic show, and then they didn't have to have all the equipment in the background, they didn't have to rent all that, it's all their location? Or did they want you on their set?
We've done a few of those, but
Okay.
other ones, the ones that were like that, and you could look this up. I don't know if it's on my IMDb or not, but Storage Wars, I did some show like one of those or two of those. I think episodes was like that. The Joan Rivers, I think the show was called. I forget what it was called, but it was also like a magic episode where she came. So we did some things like that.
Okay.
Other things we did out and about. I did a Toyota commercial. I mean, I was a magician, but it wasn't filmed at Magicopolis. And I did a thing with Sugar Ray Leonard for his charity. I did a couple. I did an infomercial with some of the things were at Magicopolis, some of them weren't, but they were all as a result of being seen in the show there.
Dude, what is the travel like from the Magic Castle to Magicopolis? I mean, from LA to Santa Monica, what is that? 45 minutes? Is it?
Well, in a city of 10 million people in the county,
It's supposed to be 45.
on the short end, it could be a half an hour. On the long end, it could be an hour and a half.
Okay.
Santa Monica is just about where Los Angeles ends. It's at the ocean.
Okay.
And Hollywood, if you travel on the right time or know the back way or something, you could make it there in half an hour.
Okay. All right. Wow, that is real close.
2 hours.
So that totally makes sense for the guy.
There's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic. One of the things of settling in somewhere like Hawaii, you don't have the headache of that. When we, and I should say, our home is still in Santa Monica. We have a house there, and right just 2 miles from the theater, and we like living on the ocean, but and we lived close to where we built the theater close to our home. But if you live in Santa Monica and worked at the Magic Castle, you have to leave real early because you could miss your show if there's an accident or or if at the Hollywood Bowl there's some event and the traffic is backed up for 10 miles. It can happen.
But it makes sense for the guy at the castle to buy it, though, because I mean he can just send acts over. They just extend their contract a couple days, man. I mean that sounds like a slam dunk for him. It makes sense.
It didn't quite work out like that.
Well, yeah.
The people that work at the castle are the people that he used. These are 1 week engagements. So it's not really, and I'm sure that, he'll get back on the pony again. This is already now the current president is another friend of mine, Chuck Martinez, who he made his fortune in a costume company called Disguise Inc., but he started Paul Harris's career publishing all his books, and had a magic store in San Diego called Magician's World. And he's also about my age, as is Paul. So, what goes around comes around. I'm sure he'll get it back going, and whether he changes the format, or I'm not sure what he'll do, because he is very busy with his attorney work. He has a very specialized area, and he has a corporate office in Los Angeles and San Francisco, and magic's kind of his hobby. It isn't really a thing to feed his family, So
Yeah, wow. When you're passionate like I am about magic, I can't imagine retiring from magic. Have you retired? I know you're writing books, but are you performing?
yeah,
Are
I'm
you
not.
doing sets anywhere? Do you plan on doing sets? Steve, I can't wrap my head around it, man. Help me out.
Oh, there's nothing to wrap your head around. I chances are we will open another place. We actually had a
There
deal
you
to
go. Okay.
Hawaii. Again, the situation changed with COVID and everything. I'm not in a hurry to open a new place. Have been checking a few locations in Europe, and like Lisbon, Portugal looks good. Mallorca looks good, but we'll be only doing it for fun. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not at a point where I need to do it to make a living. I would only be doing it to have a good time and enjoy myself. And despite the lax sort of situation in regard to COVID and so on, I still am not that comfortable mingling with thousands of, I always do the meet and greet after every show,
Right. Yeah.
and shaking hands and kissing babies after the show and so on. I'm not that comfortable doing that now. And I'm
Right.
not in a hurry to, but I'm sure in the next couple of years, we might do something again in Hawaii or somewhere else. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I told
But
my wife if I hit the
I'm
lottery, I'm
definitely not
still going to do shows. I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know what you got for the Magicopolis. You might be set and done and whatever, and everything's great, but still, Steve, we need you, man. You're here. You're on Earth. We need.
I still enjoy magic. I've been writing the books and I've done a little bit of consulting. I and Yeah, I'll be performing again, but I'm
Okay.
not in a rush to do anything unless it's perfect. And after the last, couple decades of only doing specifically what I want to do under my terms, I'm not too,
Right.
I'm not ready to go out and get a bunch of gigs.
Well, and then having a boss.
I
And
would
then
open
did you
I
like
would
the
open
show?
a
Were you happy
small.
with that?
What'd you say?
And then having a boss. Did you like the show? Were you happy with that? What can we do to make you happy? You had everything. You just had to make your customers happy. That's all you had to worry about. We're working for resorts, and
That's not quite
we're
true.
still kissing butt a little.
No, we had a lot of employees. We had a lot of stuff to deal with. There are a lot of if you own a bar or even a magic store or a theater, and there's a lot of spokes in the wheel there. It's not only making the customer happy, but that's a good part of it.
Right.
Having a good show is important, of course. But I don't think I would ever own a business that size again. We were in the main. Santa Monica was a very heavy foot traffic area. 10,000 square feet is a pretty big size for a business there. It had a big nut. There was a lot of responsibility and employees and so on. And were we to do some other show, it would be on a smaller scale, something that you don't need 10 employees.
Right. Golly, I can't imagine. So when you have these videos of you doing the mind reading goose and all this stuff, it looks like you're doing it like at evening at the Improv or something. I've seen
Yeah.
these.
Those are all the last time I did the mind reading ghost was 30 years ago at least.
So did you do that whole comedy club circuit? Because I know you got started
Yeah.
before comedy club.
Yeah, I did in the 80s. After when I left DC, I was a road monster for several years in comedy clubs. And following that, I got into the casino work, first in review shows like Kazan and Spellbound and Fast Company and Playboy Girls of Rock and Roll and a bunch of different review shows where I would do the comedy spot. And comedy clubs had led to the casino work, and the casino work led to the opening act stuff, and and that's where I transitioned into a Magicopolis.
So do you think you were doing the comedy clubs for 8 years?
Let's see.
I'm trying to do like 80 to 88, maybe.
No. I did it from like 85
Okay.
to maybe 92, something like that.
Dude, you were a monster. I'm a big fan of magic. I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, and you just went out there and you killed. You had the audience eating out of the palm of your hand. With magic and with comedy, you see people that get flustered. You were so crisp. The jokes are just boom, 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 crisp. Just, I don't know how else to say, but crisp.
On point.
Yeah, right on point, man. It was, that's why I was thinking 10 years of comedy clubs, writing that stuff and doing that stuff. It was awesome.
A lot of that material came from doing the bar and later the Brook Farm in DC. The bar had about 80 people in it, and it turned over about 5 times a day. The après-ski time, when the people come off the mountain in Aspen, starts around 4 o'clock. And between 4 o'clock and 2 a.m., you do like 5, 10 or 15-minute shows. And in between, you'd be making drinks. I mean, we're also the bartender. But it was like the comedy club sort of situation before there were comedy clubs. Because this was like 76, we started. And then when we did the Brook Farm, Bob Sheets and I had a 2-person show that we did about 4,000 performances of. That's, for instance, where I developed the Goose and the Needles and some of the things that were in my comedy club show. And when you do 4,000 shows, you get better. And there's a lot of trial and error involved. And you keep the things that work, and you do a lot of improvising and ad-libbing once you have kind of the core show. That's also where we got Bob and I did a lot of comedy illusions together. Different illusions, but like Bozina and I did, she was an actress. So, when we did the Decolleté Chair, for instance, it was a seance scene, and she was the seance medium, and eventually she disappears and appears in the audience. Or when we did the Levitation, it was in a psychiatrist's office, and she was the crazy patient, and I was the psychiatrist that falls in love with the patient, and she floats, and so all of our and that sort of sketch work transitioned from doing stand-up work, and we had kind of a Saturday Night Live-ish sort of way of doing the illusions. Neither of us are really dancers or choreography kind of people.
Right.
So but she was always a sketch or comedy actress, and I did stand-up and also sketch work before. So that was our MO for performing. And close-up, because there was a steep break in the audience at Magicopolis, we also put a lot of close-up in the show. We had maybe 3 or 4 close-up segments in each show. And it was great because you didn't need any video assist. You could actually.
That's what I was going to ask. It's only 150 seats. Did you need that? Did you have that?
No. In fact, the show had an aesthetic of a kind of 60s kind of hippie kind of aesthetic. We didn't have any visible high tech, no robotic lamps, no lasers, no pyro, whatever. It was very much appeared to be a show that could have been done at any time in history. And it wasn't quite that way behind the scenes, but that's how it appeared. So it had the very organic kind of feel. All of the music was from the 60s. It just had a very specific feel to it. And the comedy was primarily a primary factor, as was the kind of organic, natural sort of feel. And it was a very close, like when the Levitation, the front row, I mean, they're 10 feet away from
That's
her
amazing.
float. Yeah.
That is, you don't get that close to an illusion like that. That's amazing.
Well, you know,
That's
we
awesome.
built that rig into the stage, and we had a lot of really cool things that you can do when you have your own space,
Right.
not a traveling, you know.
Wow. Wow. So 35 different illusions over a 20-year period. You have all these great pieces. Did High Beanie ever make an appearance at Magicopolis?
No, he never did. And Houdini was something I did 70 to 73, and it wasn't really me.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't really that great. It had a gimmicky sort of the tricks and everything, but it was sort of a character. And
Right.
I hadn't found myself yet so that I could perform as Steve Spill.
Well,
And
I
it
mean,
was a way
Matt
of
King,
doing it. Go ahead.
even Matt King had the horn helmet on when he was like 15 years old. He had no idea what he was doing. That was his gimmick. He had a Viking helmet on. So, I mean, everybody's got to find themselves. I used to wear a full tuxedo because I was told that's what magicians do. And then I
Yeah.
almost died at a summer event, and I was like, I'm done. I literally passed out, Steve. So I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing that anymore. So, yeah,
Gotcha.
you got to
Well,
find yourself.
Bob Sheets and I had a two-person show, and we did a floating lady volunteer from the audience, kind of the Gamalo, if you know that
Yeah,
gimmick. He
yeah.
was the guy actually from Virginia that invented that. And we would take the ladies' shoes off and, and sniff them and get a buzz and, oh, they're odor eaters, and, and put them in hypnotizer with their own shoes. And we did a lot of crazy stuff you would never get away with today. When we did the sub trunk, I got to get them out quick. When I was in the box, I broke wind, and we had a lot of great comedy things for that era. And when I ended up doing illusions again with Bojana, which was, let's see, 85 and 95, 15 years later, we were much more clever in our writing, and she's a real actress, whereas Bob and I really aren't, actors. And so she helped really bump it to the next level. And I learned a lot from her because she has a lot of experience and a skill set that I don't.
Dude, I can't wait to look her up. I followed you guys on Facebook, and always showing pictures of you guys in the dressing room getting ready for the next show and things like that. But I didn't know deeper than that. I didn't know she was an actress. I didn't know. I'm learning all that out now, so I'm excited to go do more research right after this interview's over.
For a short time, or maybe a year, however long it was, I don't know. She had, I have to ask her, I don't know if she did it on Facebook or something else. She had a little dressing room confessions sort of thing she did
Yes.
periodically. I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or not, but I have to ask her. But it was just a casual, like for her own amusement, like what's happening today kind of thing. And she's really great at improvising. She's great at writing. She's a terrific actor, very talented. And she has a very high aesthetic. In our spare time, we always are going to museums and art galleries and concerts, and I've learned so much from her. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome, man.
And then, like I say, she's very brave. Also, she's courageous. She's intelligent. She has a kind of a free spirit. And I was just fortunate that I guess we've been together now maybe 25 or 26 years. I'm sure if she hears this, but she won't, don't worry. She doesn't listen to Magic. She'll get beaten for forgetting. But I think it's at least 25 years, 26 years, something like that. But can I say? It sounds like you guys are like and help each other too. What
14 years married. 14 years married. She was a go ahead, tell him.
I was a waitress in a restaurant he was doing magic in. I was waitressing when I was in college, and he was doing close-up magic at the restaurant.
But she also directed plays in high school, and she was a drama geek. And
Yeah.
I knew I could use that, And
what were some of the plays that you were in?
Oh goodness, we did a lot of plays. We did The Wizard of Oz. We did Oliver. We did Cinderella. We did The Odd Couple. We did all sorts. Lots of musicals.
So are
but,
you a singer?
yeah.
Are you a singer?
Yeah, I can sing. I don't do it publicly a lot though.
You might consider adding that to your show somehow, you know.
We tried it. We try to use her talents in the show. One year, for our resort shows, she plays the violin, and she was, what was the thing you did in college? It was like the orchestra or whatever in the college.
Yeah, I needed a, what do you call it? Extra class, extracurricular thing. So I just took violin and did a duet with a girl, and it's fun. I like playing the violin.
But we did a thing in our show where every time I left the stage, or hey Natalie, I need the next prop, and she's like, I don't have it. You're supposed to get it, honey. Seriously. Well, I guess it's wherever you left it. So I'd leave the stage stomping off, and then she'd do magic behind my back. So she would do a salt pour. She'd make a bird appear, then have to vanish it before I got back on stage, and things like that.
That's fun.
And I'd ask her to turn on the music, and she would pull out her violin, and I Love Lucy, Ditzy. She would play classical music behind me. So she was talented. She could produce dubs. She could do this. But I'm the magician. She's the assistant. That's the way it is. Leave it alone. Now I can cram you in a box. That's totally fine, and that's totally fair. But other than that, and we've played with that idea on and off. But right now it's off. But we've done that.
This might be before either of your time or not. But are you familiar with Norm Nielsen's violin, zombie violin thing? If not, you should look it up.
I'm familiar with it, but I don't know that she is. It's a
Yeah.
zombie gimmick where he actually plays the violin. The violin floats, and the bow hits the violin as it's floating behind the cloth or above the
Oh,
cloth or
wow.
around the cloth.
That's neat.
I'll show her the link to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really neat.
I just met Lupe in the Society of American Magicians convention in January in Vegas. Man, what a great person she is.
Yeah, I don't know her. I knew him before he met her.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit friends with was with him and Kevin James when they were at the Crazy Horse in Paris, and I spent some time in France, did a couple of Cannes film festivals, and very much like actually that's the French Riviera, not Paris, where they are. Or Gaten Bloom, it's another Paris guy, and
Gaten's amazing.
yeah, and Norm Nielsen was a long-standing act with that violin in that show, and trying to think if there's some other guitar. I can't remember the. I was trying to think of some other fiddle or guitar or bass instrument magicians. There are a few. I'll bet that you could work something out with your violin that was magical. I don't doubt.
That'd be cool.
The problem is, because we're doing county fairs and we're doing resorts and we're indoor, outdoor, and we have an RV. We have a 10-year-old daughter on the road with us, 1-year-old twins, a babysitter, doves and bunny rabbits, the whole 9 yards. It's like somebody said, it's like the Partridge Family of magic.
Huh.
But with the violin, it's the heat, and you got to keep the moisture level down, and it was a pain. It was she had to keep it in tune, and it was expensive, and it's not a traveling prop to do county fairs and indoor outdoor shows all the time.
Yeah, that's a very tough gig. I did some county fairs. I opened for Mac Davis and forget now, whatever it was. But there were kids running around in front of the stage, as outdoors. In the background, you'd hear the barkers and the people on the roller coaster and stuff.
And hello, car number 294 Mercedes. You left your lights on right in the middle of the show, and it's
yeah, very tough.
You get paid the same. What's bad is in the middle of the show, the front row just gets up and leaves because they want to ride a roller coaster now. It's like you haven't seen half the show. What are you doing? And it's the front row that leaves, man. It's not the back row. It sucks.
Yeah,
but, they paid money for the place, and this is free. So what are you going to do?
No, I got you. Yeah. I mean, like I say, it didn't turn out to be something that I was an expert at doing. But when I had actually filled in that job from Walter Zaney Blaney.
Wow.
For some reason, he could not do that. And I get referred to that job. And it was very tough. you know, I mean, I made it through the week, but yeah, I got to hand it to you. This is not easy. The county fair thing is pretty tough.
Well, I don't have 10 million people within 45 minutes of me, so whatever gig pays me, I'm there. So
Oh
that's
no, I got to hand it to you. I'm
no.
actually extending my praise that you could do. Like I said, I couldn't do a good job with that. It was
It's
very.
one of those things where I mean, I don't know any other way. I have
Oh,
to
no,
take
no,
every
no.
gig that comes. Yeah,
Listen,
yeah. No,
listen.
thank you. Yes, yes. But from me,
Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. You
Dude,
know,
every time we just get on a different subject, you name Zany Blaney, you name Dayton Bloom, you name Kevin James, you know everybody, you've seen everything. You are, I'd say it, I don't say it lightly at the beginning of this thing, a legend in magic, man. I'm so happy to see that you're not retiring. You're gonna still do something, even if it's just dabbling, Steve. Please, please keep doing magic. We need you out here, man.
it's funny that you mentioned. Uh, I'll tell you who was really a great comedy magician was Harry Anderson,
Oh yeah.
and I have a good Magicopolis Harry Anderson anecdote. Um, Probably no one would realize it, but I always paid attention all the time, every day, to all of the tickets sold online. And one day, Harry Anderson bought 2 tickets. And I was like, I couldn't believe it because when you're a pro, you don't buy tickets to another magic show. It's like, paying your mother to cook dinner or paying
Right.
your sister to have sex with you. And Harry was cool. He wanted to pay. He got his tickets online. And I wrote him back a note. I said, we don't accept money from con men. Your funds are returned. We reserved tickets for you. And Harry had the last laugh because he actually didn't show up. Dylan McDermott and Maggie Q came to the show. He was actually
Wow.
getting the tickets for them. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
TV actors.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, one of my prize pieces in my collection. I'm in my magic room right now. I have a Harry Anderson tie from Night Court and signed and bought it from Marietta. But I have to explain to people. They're like, "Hey, look, I have a Harry Anderson tie. He wore this on Night Court." They're like, "Who's that? What is Night Court?" I'm like, "Oh man, no, I love it." So
It's amazing how a lot of he's cold. People don't know who he is now any more than some of the people I mentioned today, unless you're in the business. If you're a magician, you of course know who he is. But I tell people, oh yeah, I used to open for Lola Falana and Melissa Manchester. They have no idea who I'm talking about. None. None
wow.
whatsoever. But or even some of the old rock groups, they don't remember. No, I mean everything. How I forgot you told me earlier, but you said you're in your 40s.
Yeah, I'm 44. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so really anything that happened before you were 44 is kind of out of your radar.
Well, my dad had a video store, so I watched everything, and I love stand-up comedy. I think we were the first house in our neighborhood to get cable, so I watched. I watched Showtime. I watched comedy stand-up with my father growing up. I remember being like, 10-year-old boy sitting at the foot of his bed while going to bed at nighttime and just watching late night at the Improv and things like that. So
Like you had a video store. That in itself was an amazing thing.
well, and growing up in there, that's how I got introduced to Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller Go Public was a VHS you could rent, and I watched it and devoured it. And I learned how to juggle because Dad had a teaching VHS tape of how to juggle. And I got to see. I told Dad I was into magic, and he found the VHS of Houdini. I didn't know. I don't want to watch a movie from the '50s, Dad. And then I saw the Houdini movie, and I'm like, yeah, I want to watch this movie on a continuous loop. It was campy, and it was very blown out of proportion, but it was magic, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And my 10-year-old daughter, I showed it to her last year, and she loved it as well. Tony
Yeah,
Curtis, man, yeah.
he was great. I met Tony a few times actually at the Magic Castle, and Jamie Lee came to Magicopolis. She actually lives in the Palisades, right next to Santa Monica, and her husband, who makes some great movies too. I don't know why his name is escaping me at the moment, but sorry,
That's okay. That's all right.
having a brain fart there. It happened.
Wow. Wow. Well, dude, we're running out of time. Let's recap your books real quick because that's what you have right now. You don't have a stage show right now, but you do have these books. I Lie for Money. Just describe them one more time. The I Lie for Money
I
is.
Lie for Money is my memoir. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's available on Audible. It's available on Kindle and every other reader. It was a book for the public when it came out in when did it come out? In I think 2015. It sold at Costco and Kmart, and it was a Christmas seller in normal stores as well as all the Barnes and Noble and Borders and stuff like that. My other books are for magicians. One of them is called How to Make Love the Steve Spill Way. One of them is called Steve Spill, Magic is My Weed. Another one is called Assassin, How to Create a Killer Show and a Killer Career. All of my very best material are in these books. All of my secrets to putting together a career are in these books. The Assassin one is more career oriented. The Make Love and Weed books have all stand-up comedy magic routines. All three of the books have my very best material that's fed me and my family for quite some time at this point. And I'm always looking for new readers. If you are into magic, you want to make your career in magic, you're interested in comedy magic, these books are for you. And I would go to stevespill.com and check them out. And hopefully, Wes, some of your fans will become my fans.
That's awesome, man. And we also have a podcast group page. It's called Wes Iseli's Magiclife podcast on Facebook, where I'm going to put all these links. I'm going to put a description for each book so they can see it, and link to your website, obviously. So that'll be up. This comes out this Wednesday, Steve, at 3 p.m. Eastern. So thank you so much for doing this, man. I'm telling you, what an honor to talk to you. I've been a huge fan of yours forever. Like I said, I have your DVD, The 10 Years of Magic. Just been fascinated by you, man. The comedy club, you doing magic and killing in the comedy clubs was the first introduction to you, and then seeing all the history with you and Bob Sheets and all that stuff that you guys did, and all these names that you've been with, man. And it's nothing for you, but every time you do it, it's like that's an hour podcast just right there. I want to hear about this guy opening for you now. Wow, and
Yeah.
coming full circle. It's
I'm
amazing.
going to give you one last anecdote. I don't know if you know who Tony Giorgio is.
I
He
know
was
the
in
name.
The Godfather. He used to
Okay,
show
yeah.
up once in a while at the Magicopolis bar to gripe about the castle or about not being cast in The Sopranos or some other new some other show, or getting kicked out of the Gardena Poker Club. He was sort of a gambling cheat, but a mafia actor. He was very good friends with Larry Jennings, but at the same time, he teased Larry Jennings a lot, and he ended up getting barred from the Magic Castle for chasing him through the club with a broken beer bottle. And but they were still friends. He was just sort of, they were acting crazy. Long story short, he had a dog that he named Larry Jennings. And he named him that specifically so he could say stuff like, "Oh, Larry Jennings is licking his balls again," or "Look, Larry Jennings dragging his ass on the carpet," or whatever. And Larry would come in and, we'd have a drink or something, and he'd say, "Oh, Larry Jennings puked on the couch today." Anyway, that's
Oh wow.
That's
So
funny.
hey, we have a minute and a half left, man. We have a dog named Rocco. Natalie and I, when we first got together, we went to New Jersey and studied with Rocco Solano, who was sleeving, and we were there for a week. We got together, we got a boxer, and we named the boxer Rocco. It sounds like I don't know Rocco, except my one of my favorite magician friends, Rocco. And I'm telling stories. My daughter's growing up, and I'm saying, hey, Rocco called me today, and we talked. And it was great. And then at dinner that night, yeah, did you know Rocco pooped on the floor upstairs? Literally, my daughter's jaws dropped, and she's like, Rocco did what? She couldn't figure out the magician came in my house and pooped on the floor. So yeah, that's awesome. That's so funny.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you the best of luck in your careers and with your family, and I got to hand it to you. You have my praise for a fine achievement if you can make a career in this craft. And for those people also interested in doing it, you're proof that it could be done.
God bless you. That means the world to me. I'm gonna clip that out, and I'm done now. I'm done. You just praised me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. SteveSpill.com. Check out the Facebook group. We'll have all that. Natalie, see you next week. Thank you, buddy.
I love you madly.
This Friday, Saturday, Sunday
June 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
at Elkton Magic. Natalie and I are going to be there doing a show on Friday, a show on Saturday with magic classes for the general public before. And on Sunday, we are doing a matinee show and we are doing a lecture for magicians after. So check out wesisley.com, hit that Elkton Magic link, or you go to Elkton Magic's Facebook page, you can get tickets there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We're doing magic classes before the shows on Friday, Saturday for general public, and magic lecture for magicians after our matinee show on Sunday. We will see you guys there.
Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.